Hello, I'm Anne.
I'm Brian.
Hi. So today we're gonna get ourselves again out of our heads into our bodies, because now is really the time for us to get up into our heads, and sometimes it can be very ungrounding. In Ayurveda, we have entered Vata season. This is the season of air and space, which is basically us drifting and dreaming and getting cold and seeing the clarity of things, which sometimes can make us feel a little overwhelmed and panicky and up in our heads, which is why we will start with feet somewhat wide and just bounce our way back into our bodies for a little while. So feel free to spread the feet wide and just shake it on down. If you have been feeling like you're just too much in your body today and you can't get off of the ground and you'd like to be a little bit more up in your head, feel free to bring the legs closer together and hop in place. Totally fine. Doesn't have to be your highest jump, although of course you can experiment with that. But either way, either hopping in place or legs wide, let's just continue this bouncing movement, really focusing on taking the energy down. We are taking it all down, being present and mindful in our bodies. And yes, your hopping can evolve if you like, or your shaking. Being careful not to hit instruments that might be placed nearby you in the room in which you practice. Feel free to let the bouncing start to become a bounce and twist. So going from one side to the other, shaking in place, maybe wagging the arms back and forth as you do this, really shaking it all out. Breathing deep. Not forgetting to breathe. That's another symptom of being stuck in your head. You might forget to breathe. But don't forget to breathe. It's good for you. Breathing is the #1 healthy choice. Besides eating and sleeping, obviously, and drinking water. So from here, let's let the bouncing cease and just turn this into a more formalized twisting side to side. You can start off loose, but as you twist more and more, feel free to bring a little bit more discipline to this. So I'm keeping my hips facing mostly the same way as my upper body goes side to side. And I'm going to bring my arms up to chest height as if I am standing in a pool of perfect temperature water and skimming my fingers along the surface. And as I twist to the right, I'm going to inhale. And as I twist to the left, I'm going to exhale. And if you want to add even more layers to this already wonderfully layered movement, as I exhale, I'm going to make the sound shh. So it looks like this. And at this point, I'm going to turn my arms up as if I am a goalpost or a saguaro cactus. Same thing, inhaling right, exhaling left. And then I'm going to take my arms down as if I am manually turning a hula hoop. So inhaling right, exhaling left, making the sound as I exhale. Keeping the spine nice and long as I twist. Shoulders open. Heart open. And then we'll just kind of shake it on out. Bringing yourself back to your twisting and your bouncing, or coming out the way that we got into this whole affair in the first place. And then from here, let's take the feet wide again, wider than mats with distance. Hands can come to hips, and we're just going to roll through the hips here. So this is a very wide hip roll. Should feel nice on any tight psoas muscles that you may be experiencing. That's the muscles right here. And then when you're ready, we'll switch directions, going the other way. Still breathing. The thread that just keeps on spinning out our whole life. The thread of our breath connects us from the first moment to the last. And then from here, let's make sure the feet are turned so they're both facing forward. The edges of the feet are parallel to each other. I'm going to interlace the fingers of both hands. I'm going to exhale all the way forward. On my next inhale, I'm going to stand all the way up, letting the hips come slightly forward, and then exhale, ha, as if I'm chopping wood. So continuing, inhaling up, exhaling, ha, 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 ha. Continue at your own pace, ha, ha, ha. Ha, 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 ha. And when you're ready, just fold forward. We're going to keep our feet right where they are, but let's bring the heels of our hands right to our hip creases here. I'm going to push down on my upper thighs, so right where my thighs and my hips come together. I'm pushing down, coming up to sort of this half stand here, inhaling up. Exhaling forward. Now you might find as you inhale up that your shoulders come up by your ears a little bit. That's okay for this. The purpose of this stretch is to stretch, to lengthen the spine. So again, inhaling up. Nice long spine. Exhaling. Couple more times. Last one. Inhaling long, exhale, and then let's come back up here and turn our feet out a little bit so that they're at kind of a 45-degree angle if there's a 90-degree angle coming straight out through me. I'm going to put the palms of my hands right on top of my knees, palm face down, fingers pointing in. I'm going to inhale here in the center. Again, I'll show from the side so you can see what my back is doing. I'm going to exhale and twist. Inhale back up to center, exhale, twist. And again, continue at your own pace. Inhaling long, just for a second. Exhale, fold. Turn the feet so that they're facing the same direction. And just fold down in this wide-legged forward fold. Not super wide, but somewhat wide. Let's walk our hand forward, just our left hand a little bit. And we're going to inhale the right hand up. You can use a block under the left hand if you like here, or come up onto your fingertips. Just a slight twist to one side. And then exhale, bring that right hand down to meet the left. And we'll inhale the left arm up now, getting a twist on the other side, just for a second. Exhale that left hand down. Walk the hands back towards the feet, which we can bring closer to hips with distance. And we'll roll our way up to standing, bouncing a little when we get up. So bounce your way up, shake it off again. We'll come into mountain for just a second. So, feet are hips width distance, or 2 fists width between the arches of the feet. From here, I'm going to stick my tail out just a little bit. It's quite a look, isn't it? And then from that point, I'm going to tuck my tail. So I'm sticking my tail out to get this inward rotation of the calves, and in this case, the thighs. Then when I take my tail down, it encourages an outward rotation of the thighs. So my calves are rotating inwards, my thighs are rotating outwards. My hands are palm face out so that my heart is open, but I'll take my hands to my ribs, tuck the ribs down just a little bit, keeping the chin floating parallel to the ground. We don't want our hearts to be way up here. There we are, nice mountain pose. Look at us, looking our best. So at this point, let's let's just reach down side to side. So reaching down with one arm, reaching down with the other. You can have the hands facing forward, keeping the heart open, or you can turn them to your side, or even facing behind you, or facing out, see what that feels like. But the main thing here is it's not a hiking up and a hiking up, it's just a reaching down and a reaching down. This is an organ massage. And if you're like me and it makes you belch to do this movement, that means you are releasing excess vata, the element of this time, the air and space element, wind within the body. I think we all know what that's all about, particularly first thing in the morning. So from here, let's shake it all off again. And you know, because we've done our hip rolls and we've done some spine exercise, I'm gonna kind of stray from our rotational warm-ups for a minute and get us really into our body just briefly. This is a squat interlude. Feel free to join or do it a very, very gentle way. So if you want to do gentle squats, feet are maybe a little wider than hips width distance. And we're gonna inhale sitting down. So I can, as I sit down on my inhale, I can look down and see my toes. My knees aren't way in front of my toes like this, but I'm actually sitting into the squat, and then exhale, come back up. So it would look like this. So that's a half squat. These squats are called baithak. They're Hindu wrestler squats that we've been going over for the past few weeks. If you'd like to do a more full baithak, you'll find a point of focus, something that isn't moving, and the feet can come closer to hips width distance. So as I come down on my inhale, my heels actually come up and my knees are tracking right over where my feet would be. So inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling. And I mean, you can take this at your pace. Inhaling, exhaling. So we'll do 5. If you want to do more, feel free. High or low squats, yogi's choice. When you're ready, take a deep inhale to prepare. Catch your breath if need be. And then exhale completely. And then when you're ready, 5 or more squats, your choice. And when you're ready, we'll just shake it all off. That is the bottom half stuff. Would you like to teach us some top half stuff to prepare us for Dan, the other half of our Hindu?
Sure, we can open up the
exercises.
arms. Let's just come to a comfortable standing posture at the front of your mat, and let's tuck the thumbs into the palms, curl the 4 fingers around. And with arms nice and long and shoulders nice and relaxed down the back, we're going to just rotate the wrists. So we're doing a full rotation, so you should feel that all the way, you know, like you're making as big a circle as you can with the wrists. Keeping the arms long and the shoulders relaxed, let's take those arms out to the side, up overhead. And then you can actually take them down the front of the body, continuing that rotation, arms staying long. When you get to the bottom, switch the rotation. You're drawing those circles with your wrists. And again, we'll take the arms up the front. Try to keep the shoulders relaxing even though the arms are moving up. And then you can take them down the side, continuing that rotation as you go. When you get to the bottom, open out the hands, flap out the arms a little bit. Look how crazy that looks. Yeah, rubber arm.
I know, right? Look at that. My arm is made out of a noodle.
Getting a little more opening into the arms. We're going to again come to the standing posture. Take the thumbs out into a T. Take the thumbs out into a T. Curl the thumbs into the palms. Curl the fingers around. Take the arms out into a T. Relax the shoulders. And like your forearms are a couple of airplane propellers facing straight forward, we're going to rotate like this a few times in one direction. See? And then switch the direction. And then go ahead, relax the arms. Shake them out, flap them off. I like to kind of let one arm kind of lean to the side, let one arm dangle, and then just flip the palm back and forth. And that releases and relaxes the whole arm all the way down. And do it to the other side too. And then let's get some motion into the shoulders, continuing to open up those arms and get them fired up. So you got two options here. One, you can just do this sort of swimming motion. So we're just rolling the shoulders one at a time. If you want to get a little deeper in, you can even take the hands onto the shoulders and do this motion. And that might get in a little deeper, might not. And then let's take it backwards. So now like we're doing the backstroke. And again, either open the arms like this or the chicken wing thing with the hands on the shoulder. Just breathing into that stretch, feeling the shoulders relax and open up. Take your arms out, flap them out. Should we give them the
Do it, man.
last
We're
one?
making our arms
All
strong.
right, this is what's really going to fire up. I know we've been doing a lot with the arms. We're going to do one more thing that's really going to fire them up. Again, standing posture, feet parallel, hips width distance, arms out into a T. Relax shoulders, palms face down, reach long, and make tiny little circles with the arms. And then, if you feel like it, you can expand those circles a little wider and wider. Maybe the wrists start to cross. And then we're going to switch the direction, but we'll start small, reach long, relaxing the shoulders down as you go, and then spiral out to larger circles if that's comfortable for you to do so. And then before we finish this up, we're going to take the arms, palms face up. Again, same concept. Reaching long with the arms, making little circles, widening those circles if it's comfortable for you to do so. Maybe crossing at the wrist, and then last time, switch the direction. Start with a small circle, reach long, and then if you feel like widening it out, larger circles. And then let's relax the arms. Let's give them a really vigorous shake this time.
Really make them look like noodles. So one way to really make your arm look like a noodle is lean forward on one side, palm facing out away from you, and then just turn it so it's facing behind you, facing in front of you, facing behind you. And then just do it quickly and sloppily. Sloppy is a very important adjective in the yoga practice. So slop that arm like crazy. Look, it looks like you could just separate right off of my body right there. And maybe slop the other one a bit. Oh, so great. And shake the whole thing off now that our arms are slopped and our spine is up and down. Let's do one sun salutation, just traditional Ashtanga style. Actually, let's do two since it's a shorty. And that should help us with our last bit of spinal stretching and working out the kinks before we do 5 dand push-ups, Hindu wrestler push-ups that we've been working on for the past few weeks. So coming to the front of your mat, feet can either be hips width distance like Brian, or big toes together with about 3 inches, 4 inches, something like that between the heels so that the sides of the feet are parallel. From here, let's inhale the arms up above the head, bending back ever so slightly. Exhale, folding forward all the way, hopefully not bonking any yoga friends that you have. From here, on your next inhale, let's bring the hands to the shins and come up to a nice flat back. So this flat back, not only am I really kind of lengthening out through the low back here, which might even mean bending my knees a little, but I'm also tucking my chin to keep the cervical spine nice and long. On your next exhale, whenever that is, fold forward again. Plant the hands on either side of the feet and walk the feet back for plank position, everyone's favorite. So from here, inhale deeply. And on your next exhale, when you're ready, you can either come down, knees, chest, and chin, which I will demonstrate, or through chaturanga, which Brian will demonstrate. So when you're ready, we'll inhale deeply together here. And then exhale.
Then inhaling, we'll bring our hips down and come up to cobra. And let's just stay here for a little bit because it's wonderful. So in cobra, you can either be low here with the hips down and the hands so not supportive that you can bring them up if need be, or you can come up high. If you do come up high, make sure that your shoulders are tracing down your back and that your heart is shining up towards the ceiling. I'm not in this L shape, but more I'm in a C shape, like an actual cobra. At this point, let's look over our right shoulder and our right heel. Exhaling. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, look over the left shoulder at the left heel. Inhale, come back to center. One more time. Exhale over the right shoulder, looking at the right heel. Inhale, center. Exhale, left shoulder, left heel. Inhale, center. And then on your next exhale, let's bend the knees, lift the hips, tuck the toes, and find ourselves back here in downward facing dog. So downward facing dog, feel free to stay here for a second too. Catch your breath if need be. Paddle your heels down one by one. The main key points of downward facing dog is that my hips are really shining up towards the ceiling here. So that might mean I'm bending both knees and then lifting the hips to really get them towards the ceiling, which means also that I'm up on my toes. If your heels aren't down on the mat, that's okay. At this point too, let's focus on what our shoulders are doing. If you're sitting way back in your downward facing dog like this, I recommend taking the shoulders down the back and bringing the head forward just a little bit so that you have a nice long neck, nice long sides of the neck. The shoulders aren't crowding your neck and the shoulder blades are coming down your back towards your tailbone. So really, they're going up your back since we're upside down. So at this point, let's breathe a little bit more here. And then when you're ready, we'll look forward to our hands and walk, step, or jump your feet up to meet your hands. Exhale, folding forward again. Either feet coming to touch or it's with distance. On your next inhale, arms come out wide and up. Maybe slight back bend at the top. Exhale, hands land right in front of your chest. And that's one. So we'll do a second, maybe a little quicker this time. Inhaling the arms wide and up, slight back bend. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, hands come to shins, flat back. Exhale, hands frame the feet, step back to plank, yogi's choice. Inhaling here, exhaling through knees, chest, chin, or downward facing dog.
Downward facing dog.
I'm sorry, chaturanga. Thank you. Inhaling to upward facing dog. Neck is long. Exhale, bend the knees, lift the hips, come back to downward facing dog. Breathing here for a second. And then looking forward in between our hands again, we can hop, step, jump, walk, float, levitate, whatever you like. Coming all the way forward into our forward fold. Exhaling. Inhale, let's come up to flat back again. Might have forgotten this last time. Exhale, forward fold again. Inhale, arms come out wide and up. And exhale, hands land right in front of our chest again. Shake it all off. Now we do dand. Hopefully you're as warm as I am. So dand is, it's kind of like a push-up. If you decide you do not want to do something that's quite so intense on the rotator cuffs, like if you're dealing with a rotator cuff injury or anything like that, I recommend giving a try to dolphin push-ups, which means I'm coming down to my mat, to hands and knees. I'm going to interlace I'm going to put my hands around my elbows like this to find out what my shoulder width distance is. At this point then, I'm going to take my hands in front of me and interlace the fingers so that I have a little thing to hold on to basically. From here, I'm going to take my hips up. So it's kind of like I'm in the downward facing dog, but I'm on my elbows. I'm going to inhale forward, exhale back. Inhale forward, coming almost into a plank, exhale back. So that is dolphin push-ups. If you want to do those, feel free to do 5 or more. We're going to do 5 downed push-ups, which are similar to dolphin push-ups, but instead we're going basically from downward facing dog to upward facing dog. So we're exhaling in the downward facing dog, and this time I'm going to stay on my toes the whole time as I inhale forward into upward facing dog here. Really the main goal with this, I'm going to put my hips down for a second to tell you, is keeping the shoulders down when you're in your upward facing dog. So inhaling in upward facing dog, we can exhale back to downward facing dog, and it's your choice. You can either do 5 dolphin push-ups or 5 downed push-ups. Your choice. So when you're ready, we'll inhale deeply in our downward facing dog and exhale. Preparing for our first upward facing dog. On your next inhale, feel free to begin. Inhaling up, exhaling down. 4 more. Last one, unless of course you feel like you need more, in which case go for it. If you feel like, I am all set, I've had enough of this, let's bend both knees, bring them to the mat, bring the soles of the feet, or bring the sides of the feet together, bring the knees together, and we'll sit back into child's pose, extending the arms out in front of us, getting a nice long stretch. And at this point, this class becomes restorative. So when you're ready, let's slide forward from our child's pose into just Shavasana on our bellies. So what does that look like? We've seen Shavasana on our backs a whole lot, but Shavasana on our bellies looks like heels turning out, toes coming in. They don't necessarily have to touch each other, but heels just gently laying out to the side, elbows bent, hands in front of our face, and you can rest your head facing one side or the other on your hands, or you can rest your forehead on the hands facing the mat. That's fine too. If you have your head facing one side, feel free to face the other side. Breathing deep. And then when you're ready, let's take our head back to center, just floating in above the ground. Let's take our arms out into a T, and we're gonna open up our shoulders here. So let's bend our right arm and put it under our right shoulder. So I'm lying on my belly, right arm is bent, left arm is extended. I'm gonna look to the right as I push down on my right hand and lift my right hip. So I'm laying on my left hip here. This might be quite a shoulder stretch for you already. And if you have a folded up blanket nearby and you want to put it under your face, feel free to come out of the stretch and do that if you like. It's totally a wonderful option, even if you rumple up your blanket like crazy in the process of it. From here, if this feels easy for you and you feel like you've got more stretch in that left shoulder, you can inhale that right arm straight up at the sky and then reach back, seeing if you can grasp the left fingers. Now that will make this a much more dramatic stretch on the outside of that left shoulder. But it still might not be dramatic enough for you, in which case, if you want to go deeper, you can take that right leg, that's the leg on top, bend the knee, and place the sole of the right foot behind the left thigh. And then let that right knee open out to the right. And that should probably have some sensation for you. But if it doesn't, there is still more for you. Never fear. You can go deeper. So if you wish to go deeper from here, you can bend the left knee, place the sole of the left foot on the ground, draw the knees towards each other, and let them start to fall towards the right. So you might even find that you're laying on your hips, on both hips evenly as you do this. Now this is very intense, so if you have no shoulder injuries, this may be a safe practice for you, but if you have suffered shoulder injury before, particularly on the left side, be very gentle with yourself here. To get out of this, we just kind of come out in the reverse order the way we got in. So we straighten out the left leg first, then the right leg, then inhale that right arm up to the sky, exhale the right hand down to the mat, and unroll yourself back onto your belly again. Left arm is still hanging out to the left. Possibly now you're feeling a rush of blood into that left arm. You can take that left palm and turn it up and down and basically do your noodle arm wiggle here on the ground for a little bit. And then we'll take the right arm straight out to the right. Looking to the left, let's bend the left elbow and place the left hand under the left shoulder. So at this point, let's push down on the left hand and we'll lift our hips to the left. This might be enough for you. If that is the case, by all means, feel free to just chill out here and enjoy the stretch. If you want to go further and it feels safe to do so, you can lift your left arm straight up towards the ceiling and then reach back and find the right fingers with the left hand. That's a start. If you wish to go further, you can bend that left knee and place the sole of the left foot behind the right thigh. That's a great place to find your deepest stretch. But if for whatever reason it's not your deepest stretch and you wish to go further, you can bend your right knee. Place the sole of your right foot on the ground next to the left, and then let both knees fall towards the left here, coming onto possibly the back of your hips. As you stretch that right shoulder open so deeply, don't go past your point of comfort here. And when you're ready to come out, feel free to come out the same way you came in. So, or the reverse of the way you came in, I'm sorry. So right leg comes out first. I roll onto my right hip, left leg rests on top of right. Inhaling the left arm straight up, exhaling the left hand down, and then using that left hand as a brake, we'll bring ourselves back onto our belly. And here we are again, laying on our wonderful belly. Would you like to teach anything like locust forward here?
Oh, sure. So, locust, there's a couple of ways we can do this. So, one way is you can have your arms down, palms face up, down by your side. And the idea with locust is that we're going to inhale and lift the legs up towards the sky. Maybe we lift the arms up as well. So this is one way to get into locust. And you can just come down on an exhale when you want to get out of that. Another way to do it, if you like, is to have your arms underneath of you, and they both come down. I'll stand up so you can see. It's like they come down in front of you like this on the floor. Other people, sometimes you can. Some people like to do it with 2 fists. You can do it that way as well, where the palms face down. This is directly underneath of you. You're laying on your arms like this. So you come down. You might need to roll off to one side, get the arm under there, get the other side, roll the other arm under there. And then everything nice and long, body is long, shoulders relaxing down the back, hips pressing into the mat, hands pressing into the mat. Inhale, lift the legs, just the legs up. And just stay up as many breaths as you want. When you're ready to come down, you can just gently lower on an exhale. And then let's put our hands, let's make a little basket, let's make a little pillow with our hands. And then let's just let we'll bend the knees and just let the feet windshield wiper side to side. So hoping to release any tension in the low back. And while we're down here, if you want to do another one of those, you can. Or you can try something called bow, which looks like this. This time you bend the legs and you grab for the ankles.
You can also use a strap here.
Yes,
around the ankles.
totally use a strap. Trying to keep the knees facing both in the same direction towards, directly behind you and not splaying out to the sides at all, but facing straight ahead. Take a deep inhale here. Exhale, hips into the mat, legs come up, press your legs into the arms. The legs help pull the arms up, pull the upper body up. And when you're hang out here as long as you want, when you're ready to come down, we'll just slowly lower on an exhale. Again, you can make a pillow with your hands. You can let the feet move side of windshield wiper the feet.
Alright, and at this point, let's push ourselves back on the hands and knees and just come straight back to child's pose again. Taking care that the legs are really close together here so that the spine stretches long over the legs. So we really are curving the spine here. We're doing the opposite motion of what we were just doing in locust and bow. So one way that you can really emphasize the curve in the spine is to tuck the tail as you sit here, and you can even press the hands into the mat, tucking the tail in towards the heels. So it's almost like I'm pushing my hip bones in towards my heels here. Breathing deep. And then let's emphasize this a little bit more. Let's slide the hands back towards the heels and cup the fingers around the heels. We're going to come into one version of rabbit, and we'll show another in a second. So this version of rabbit, I'm going to lift my hips and let the crown of the head rest either on the floor or just 1 centimeter above the floor, stretching the spine long in this way. And then when you're ready, hips can come back down the heels, and we're going to take the hands in front of us, separate the knees a little bit wider, so maybe hips width distance here, so that if you were to come on hands and knees, each knee is below a hip bone. So let's all come up into hands and knees, and you can either come into heart posture or rabbit, second version of rabbit. So let's all come in the second version of rabbit first, and if you want to go further and take into heart posture, you can. So this version of rabbit, I'm coming down to my elbows, and at this point I'm tucking my chin and letting the crown of the head rest on the mat here. So this is a nice stretch for the cervical spine. If the other version of rabbit was a great stretch for the lumbar spine or the low back, this is a stretch for the cervical spine or the high back, the neck. So if you have very open shoulders, especially after that shoulder opener we just did, and you feel comfortable going a little further, you can look up for a second. So from here, I'm going to slide one hand forward a bit, slide the other hand forward a bit, and come down towards heart posture. This posture is also called playful puppy. And the idea here is either I'm resting my forehead on the mat, or I'm resting my chin on the mat, but my sternum is also working its way towards the mat. I'm getting a deep stretch through the thoracic spine, through the middle of the spine here. Then when you're ready, let's come back up to hands and knees, sitting back towards the hips, Let's sit on the hips in hero posture, and then at this point, let's bring the knees kind of wide apart. The wonderful thing about teaching online is sometimes I can teach things that maybe you can do, maybe you can't do. Maybe I can do, maybe I can't do, but we shall all see. So I'll show from behind, and Brian will show from the front. We're gonna do a stretch called saddle. It's a deep opener for the psoas, and if you have props, they might be really helpful. So I'm sitting here first in hero's pose with my knees together and my feet under me. My big toes are kind of touching. Now I'm gonna open my knees wide and kind of turn my feet so that I'm sort of sitting on the soles of my feet. The heels are kind of outside of the hips, and the big toes are touching here. This is called, this is technically, it's like Simhasana. It's almost lion's pose. So we can make it lion's pose for a second before coming down to the saddle. So sitting here with our big toes touching, keeping that line of energy, that's why the big toes are touching. Let's take the palms face down in front of us. We're going to get a wrist stretch here as well for lion's posture. So this is simple lion's posture, but we're lions. Let's roar. So to roar in lion's posture, I'm going to inhale deeply, and then I'm going to exhale. As I exhale, I'm going to stick my tongue out and cross my eyes, looking towards the eyebrow center and making the sound ha. So feel free to try it with me, inhaling deeply. One more time, inhaling. And at this point, you can take the arms out of the position, keeping the legs where they are. If you have a yoga block nearby or a folded up blanket and you want to use this, and again, I'll demonstrate from behind. These are our brakes. These are our helpers. If you know already where I'm going, and you have a very open saddle posture, by all means go for it. If you're not so sure, feel free to place your blocks or block behind you. And first I'm going to come down just a little bit. So I'm just leaning back on my blocks here. My elbows are resting on my blocks. I might find I don't even need them, and I can just rest on my elbows here. If that's the case, I could always put a block under my head and rest like this. Now it's a little awkward because my heart is falling. So if you have a second block, take it to its medium height, place it under the heart area, and then reset that block under the head. Oh, how nice. I have a recliner. It also happens to be a fairly intense psoas stretch. So it's, again, these muscles that connect the thighs basically to the spine and the hips. So anytime we walk, ride in the car, sit down, stand up, most movements tighten the psoas muscle, most human movements, or at least most movements we find ourselves in from time to time. So just hanging out here, and of course, if you feel like, this feels great, but you want to come a little bit further down, or you just want to come all the way down, feel free to remove the blocks mindfully and allow yourself wherever you need to go. If you're one of those people with real open hips and real flexible, happy knees, and you're all the way down in this posture like I am, feel free to, keeping your head on the ground, lift up the shoulders, and then it's almost like you're bringing your thoracic spine, that mid-spine that goes between the neck and the waist, towards the ground. So what we're doing here is we're tucking the tail a little bit, almost rounding the shoulders, bringing that spine to the ground, and then opening the shoulders back up. I'm trying to take away some of that kink in the low back here that might happen for some folks as they come back into this, especially if you have a very flexible spine and you find that once you're up here, your tail is sticking out, but you're able to arch the upper body down. Let's try to take that arch out of the spine and lengthen the spine as we lay back here. And again, if you are not all the way back and you're on blocks and you want to come out of this at any point, feel free. It's a very intense stretch. And breathing deep. And when you're ready to come out, there's no hurry at all. If you're all the way back, feel free. I like to bring my feet or my hands to my feet and push onto my feet to bring myself onto my elbows. Then from here, I'll take one hand down to the mat and then the other, bringing myself back up towards seated, walking my hands around towards the front. I'll turn around so you can see what I'm doing here. Walking my hands around towards the front. I'm going to bring the knees together and again, come right back into that child's pose. Lengthening out the spine as I curve it over my legs here in this little C shape. If you want to make it even deeper, you can slide the hands back and cup the heels, just leaving the body down. Pressing the whole body into the mat in this little seed-like shape. And then from here, I'm going to push into my hands to sit up briefly. Nudge my hips to one side. Swing my legs around to the front. And finally come down onto the mat for some rest. So at this point, let's relax our backs just a little bit more. Knees can stay pointed up towards the ceiling. Hands can come into a T. And we're just going to let the knees rock side to side for just a second. Eventually when they fall off to the left side, kind of lift the hips a bit to bump them a little towards the right and let the knees fall on top of each other. And then look over the right shoulder, making sure that you're keeping both the left and the right shoulder tracking towards the ground or on the ground as you do this little spinal twist here. If you have a version of spinal twist you prefer, like maybe crossing the right leg over the left and letting the legs fall to the left that way, totally fine. Otherwise, just feel free to rest here, enjoying the stretch. And then when you're ready, knees can come back up towards the ceiling, hips become centered, and then you can bump your hips a little to the left, let the knees fall to the right, looking over the left shoulder, keeping both shoulders tracking towards the ground. If you wish to go deeper, you can always take that left leg, over the right, and twist that way. And then, no hurry. When you're ready, we'll bring the knees back up. And we have a very wonderful, special Shavasana plan for you today. So you have choices as to how you wish to enjoy your Shavasana, which is going to include some sound massage. If you like, and you have a couple blocks or block-like objects, you can bring the soles of the feet together and place the blocks under the knees, coming back into Supta Baddha Konasana, that's supine bound angle posture. This is one way to Shavasana, or just partial Shavasana. You can change position as you rest, nothing is set in stone. So this is one option. And if you find you're comfortable in this position without blocks, of course you don't need to use them if you don't want to.
Another option too is to have the legs either in that position or in Shavasana legs and take a block and place it right behind the back, mid-back, like right here. It's kind of around, these are the points of my shoulder blades here and here. So I place the block right below that. So that would be a more heart-opening option like this. Maybe you've been feeling extremely pugilistic recently. This might be a wonderful choice for you if that's the case. And if you decide you also want your hips open as well as your heart, you can hang out like this. If your hips and your heart are open here, feel free to take the arms above the head and grab one wrist with the other hand so the elbows come out in a sort of diamond shape, just like the legs come out in a diamond shape. That's an option too. And of course, plain old traditional Shavasana with the legs coming out to either side, hands coming, a foot or so away from each hip is also an option. We will be in Shavasana a little longer than usual today, so feel free to cover up with a blanket, put on socks, maybe an eye pillow if you have one around. Anything that you need to make this the most comfortable rest that you can imagine. I'm going to begin making sound, but even before I start making sound, I'm going to use the sound of my voice to do a little experiment with you as you lay here. As I speak to you, perhaps you feel the quality of the way I'm speaking my words in the way your body is perceiving sound waves. Like I could talk really quick and high voice like this. It wouldn't be very relaxing, would it? But I can also talk in a smooth, relaxing quality like this, and you may experience that differently in your body. When I make a noise with my mouth, I make a disruption and silence that might be around you, and you may perceive that in your body. Possibly you perceive that as a vibration. Perhaps you receive that as a vibration that falls like two little orbs into each of your palms. And you feel that vibration work its way in through your palms, up your wrists, up your forearms, your elbow, your upper arms, shoulders, work its way to your sternum, your heart, your chest, your whole thoracic body, your hips, your neck, your head, your legs, your feet. If you wish, you can try turning your palms face down if they're face up in Shavasana arms, and see if the sounds of the room that you are practicing in, which may include my voice, affect you differently when you feel the vibration through the palms face down, the palms on the floor. Feel free to experiment with palms face up or face down, or maybe one of each, or going back and forth, as I experiment with some different sounds from this beautiful gong I have with me.
when you're ready. No hurry. Feel free to bring some life back to the fingers and toes, wiggling through the fingers, wiggling through the toes, maybe rolling the wrists and ankles a little bit as we lay here. If you're supported on blocks, feel free to take them out from under you and bring the legs together. Stretch the arms long above the head, stretching long. And then rolling off to one side or the other, resting for a second in a fetal position, honoring your body, honoring your practice. And then when you're ready, push your hands down into the ground, bringing yourself back up towards seated, taking time to sit on a blanket or a block if you like. And do a few rounds of prana mudra to seal our practice, and then an om. So feel free to inhale the arms out wide and up, maybe leaning forward and looking up as you inhale, and then exhale the hands down, pressing back. Inhaling the arms out wide and up. Exhaling, pressing back. Last one. Inhaling the arms out wide and up. And this time when the hands get to the top, exhale, bringing the hands into prayer right in front of your chest. Inhaling deeply. And if you wish to join me in the universal sound of Om, feel free to join. Thank you for practicing with us today. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Thank you. And I think I've made a decision that there will be no class next week because it is my 39th birthday and I will not be in a class teaching mode, I think. So feel free to enjoy something archived on our YouTube page. That's Refuge Yoga Baltimore. We don't have a fancy URL yet, but if you subscribe, perhaps soon we will. Thank you much.
Thank you.